The emergency alarm blared through Logan International Airport's Terminal C, slicing through the morning rush like a siren through fog. Not a fire alarm, something worse. Security breach, heads jerked up from phones and laptops. Conversations died mid-sentence. At the center of the chaos stood Caroline Levit, document in hand, surrounded by a ring of blue-uniformed TSA officers, their faces hard and unreadable. "Everyone step back," ordered the lead officer, his voice echoing through the stunned terminal. "This is a security situation." Caroline's heart pounded, but her face stayed calm. 6 years as White House press secretary had taught her one rule: never show fear, especially when you're terrified. 3 hours earlier, the shrill ring of her hotel phone dragged her from sleep. She fumbled in the dark, knocking over a glass of water before finding the receiver. "Miss Levit," said a deep voice. Special Agent Marcus Delaney, head of her security detail. His tone chilled her instantly. "The president needs you back in Washington." Caroline sat upright, instantly alert. She'd only been in Boston for 10 hours, long enough to deliver a keynote speech and collapse into bed. "What happened?" she asked, already moving. "Not over the phone," Delaney replied. "Car's waiting downstairs. Wheels up in 40 minutes. The line went dead." Caroline moved with the precision of someone used to crisis calls in the middle of the night. Clothes packed, hair tied back, a glance at the clock, 4:37 a.m. One last sweep of the room, briefcase in hand, and she was out the door. The hotel hallway was silent, her heels muffled on the carpet. Her mind spun through possibilities: a nuclear threat, a terror attack, the president's health, something big. Delaney was waiting by the revolving doors, his broad frame wrapped in a dark suit. "What's going on, Marcus?" "Package arrived at the White House at 3 a.m., he said, opening the SUV door. "Foreign origin. Contents classified. The president activated Emergency Protocol 7. Caroline froze. Protocol 7 was for imminent national security threats, the kind that could spark war. The SUV rolled through Boston's empty streets. Caroline's thoughts raced. "The president wants me to handle the press conference, doesn't he?" Delaney nodded. 10 a.m. sharp, your team's preparing the briefing. He handed her a sealed envelope marked with the presidential seal. Inside was a single document, an official court order, authorizing expedited travel for key White House officials. "Why would I need this? I already have clearance," Caroline said. "President's orders," Delaney replied. "He said you might face resistance." "Resistance? From who?" At Logan Airport, dawn was just breaking. A government jet stood ready on the tarmac. But before Caroline could board, Delaney's phone rang. His face darkened as he listened. "Change of plans," he said. "The jet's grounded. Mechanical issue. How long?" "Too long. You'll have to fly commercial. United 937 at 6:15. It'll get you to Dulles by 7:58. Caroline hesitated. "Fine, let's go." "One more thing," Delaney said quietly. "You're traveling alone. No security detail." "What? That's not protocol. Director's orders." "And, Caroline, watch your back." The package contained evidence of an insider threat. High level. Her pulse quickened. "You think someone inside—" "I don't know," he interrupted. "Just be careful." He handed her the boarding pass. "I'll meet you at Dulles." The shift from VIP clearance to a normal passenger line was jarring. Caroline stood among sleepy travelers, glancing at her watch. 5:43 a.m. A text buzzed on her phone. "POTUS expects full briefing on arrival." Situation deteriorating. Her stomach tightened. She reached for her ID, then froze. Her wallet, still on the nightstand at the hotel. The TSA officer extended a hand. "ID, please." Caroline swallowed hard. "I'm so sorry. I left my wallet at the hotel." The officer's expression hardened. "Without identification, I can't let you through." "I'm Caroline Levit, White House press secretary. This is an emergency. I need to reach D.C. immediately." "Rules are rules," the officer said. "No ID, no entry." Caroline's face burned as passengers stared. She'd faced hostile reporters and foreign ministers, but never humiliation like this. "Please," she tried again. "I can show my credentials on my phone." "Digital IDs aren't valid," the officer replied firmly. "Step aside, ma'am." Caroline took a slow breath. "Then may I speak with your supervisor?" Moments later, Supervisor Martinez appeared. Tall, stern, expression unreadable. "What's the issue?" "Passenger has no identification," the officer said. "Claims to be White House staff. Martinez turned to Caroline. Do you have any government ID? Driver's license? Passport? No. But I am Caroline Levit, and I'm under federal directive to reach Washington. Martinez's expression didn't change. I'm sorry, ma'am. Our protocols are clear. Without proper identification, I can't let you through the security checkpoint, Martinez said firmly. There's an alternate verification process, but it takes several hours and requires multiple forms of ID. I don't have several hours, Caroline replied, her voice tight with urgency. I need to be on the 6:15 flight to Dallas. Then I suggest you return to your hotel, retrieve your identification, and book a later flight, Martinez said flatly. The tone made it clear, discussion over. Behind her, a businessman muttered impatiently. The line was growing restless. Caroline's pulse quickened. Then she remembered the court order. She yanked open her briefcase, rifling through folders until she found the document protected in a translucent sleeve. She held it up. This is a federal court order granting expedited travel authority to key White House officials during national security emergencies, she said, her voice shifting from pleading to commanding. Signed by Judge Eleanor Davis of the D.C. Circuit Court. Section 4 specifically addresses identification verification protocols. Martinez took the document, his expression tightening as he noticed the presidential seal. He slid it from its sleeve and began reading. Ms. Levit, he said after a moment, his tone now formal. Where did you obtain this document? It was provided directly by the Office of the President, she replied confidently. Check Section 4, Paragraph 2. It authorizes expedited clearance in the absence of standard identification during urgent national security situations. Martinez read carefully, his brow furrowing. The TSA officer beside him leaned closer, her eyes widening slightly. I'll need to verify this, Martinez said, reaching for his radio. Of course, Caroline replied, a flicker of hope rising. And while you do, I suggest you contact your regional director. This falls under Executive Order 3926. I believe your director is familiar with it. It was a gamble. Caroline barely remembered the order's details, but her confidence had the desired effect. Martinez stepped away, speaking quietly into his radio. Around her, the security line had stopped completely. Travelers stared, some openly filming on their phones. The businessman behind her was recording too. Great. This would hit social media within minutes. Martinez returned, his expression mixed with uncertainty and deference. Ms. Levit, my supervisor is coming down to speak with you personally. Please step into our administrative area. How long will this take? She asked. My flight leaves in 25 minutes. We're working as fast as we can, ma'am. Inside a small glass-walled office, Caroline waited alone as Martinez conferred with other TSA officials outside. Through the glass, she saw them poring over the court order, one of them gesturing animatedly on the phone. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. Where are you? Situation critical. Proceed. Caroline checked the time, 5:55 a.m. Her flight was boarding. She typed quickly. Delayed at Logan security. No ID, using the court order. The reply came almost instantly. Use Section 5, invoke federal authority. Section 5. She flipped through the document. There it was. Dense legal text granting designated White House officials temporary federal authority over local transportation security during national emergencies. Invoke federal authority? That sounded extreme, but before she could think it through, the door opened. A woman in a navy blazer with a TSA executive insignia entered, followed by Martinez. Ms. Levit, I'm Assistant Director Gloria Ramirez, she said, extending her hand. I understand we have a situation. Assistant Director, thank you for coming. I'm under direct orders to return to Washington immediately for a national security matter. My flight departs in less than 20 minutes, Ramirez nodded. I've reviewed your court order. It appears legitimate, but it requests we suspend core security protocols. I need to verify it with our legal department and possibly DHS headquarters. Assistant Director, Caroline said evenly, adopting the tone she used in White House briefings. Section 5 specifically grants me temporary authority to supersede local TSA procedures in matters of urgent national security. Ramirez's eyes narrowed slightly. You're invoking Section 5? Yes, Caroline said firmly. The air in the room shifted. Martinez looked uneasy. Another agent took a step back. Ms. Levit, Ramirez said carefully. Invoking Section 5 halts all standard operations and triggers an automatic alert to Homeland Security. Are you prepared for that? Caroline thought of the messages, the warnings, and the president waiting for her. I am. Ramirez held her gaze, then nodded. Very well. Agent Martinez, initiate Protocol 7B and arrange an escort for Ms. Levit to her gate. Martinez blinked. Ma'am, that's a terminal-wide escalation protocol. I'm aware, Ramirez cut in. Execute the protocol. He nodded and left quickly. Ramirez turned back to Caroline. You'll be escorted to your flight. But understand, Section 5 will trigger a full Homeland Security review. If there's any irregularity, there isn't, Caroline said. This order comes directly from the highest levels. My return to Washington is critical. Before Ramirez could reply, the airport PA chimed. Attention all travelers and staff. TSA is initiating a security verification measure. Please remain where you are. All checkpoint processing is temporarily suspended. Through the glass, Caroline watched the effect unfold. The terminal freezing mid-motion. TSA agents took positions. Travelers stood motionless, whispering, recording, confused. This is Protocol 7B, Ramirez said quietly, usually reserved for bomb threats or terrorist alerts. Never used for administrative clearance until now. A tactical officer entered. Ma'am, escort team ready, Ramirez nodded. Take Ms. Levit to her gate. The flight has been notified. Thank you, Caroline said, gathering her briefcase. Don't thank me, Ramirez replied. Just make sure whatever's happening in Washington is worth shutting down an airport. Caroline followed the officer into the silent terminal. Thousands of travelers stood frozen. Security lines, cafes, boarding areas, all still. The hum of the airport had vanished, replaced by uneasy quiet. As they passed, heads turned, phones raised. Who is she? Someone whispered. Must be a threat, another muttered. Her phone buzzed again. Feed is live. Terminal shutdown registering at Pentagon. What did you do? She didn't answer. The escort pointed ahead. United 937 Gate C-22, they're holding the door. At the gate, the agent looked relieved. Ms. Levit, we've been waiting for you. Thank you, she said, handing over her boarding pass. Safe travels. Ma'am? The agent replied as she stepped down the jet bridge. Behind her, the PA system crackled back to life. Attention all travelers. Security verification complete. Normal operations resuming. Thank you for your cooperation. The flight attendant guided Caroline to her first-class seat. Curious eyes followed as she stowed her briefcase and settled in. We'll be departing immediately, the attendant said softly. The captain has received priority clearance for takeoff. Caroline nodded and glanced out the window as the aircraft pushed back from the gate. Beyond the glass, the terminal slowly came back to life. Her phone buzzed one last time before the airplane mode announcement. Whatever you did worked, but there's more you need to know. Trust no one when you land. Not even me. The message was from Delaney. As the jet accelerated down the runway, Caroline felt the weight of the court order in her briefcase like a loaded weapon. She had just frozen an entire airport, a level of authority she hadn't realized she possessed. What could possibly await her in Washington? What crisis demanded such extraordinary power? The plane climbed into the sky, banking southwest toward D.C. Caroline Levit. White House press secretary stared at the fading Boston skyline, wondering what she had unleashed and whether she'd regret it. 5 minutes later, inside Logan's administrative office, Assistant Director Ramirez spoke quietly into the phone. Yes, sir. She invoked Section 5 and has departed on schedule. No, sir. We didn't verify her identity through standard protocols. I understand. No, sir. I wasn't aware no such court order exists in the registry. She ended the call and looked out at the terminal, now returning to normal. Then she lifted the radio. Security alert all units. Priority 1, direct from Homeland Security. We have a possible national security breach. Subject, Caroline Levit, White House press secretary aboard United 937 to Washington Dulles. Detain upon arrival. Priority 1. In the air, unaware of the chaos behind her, Caroline fastened her seatbelt as the captain announced their cruising altitude. In less than 2 hours, she'd land in Washington. What she didn't know was that 5 federal agencies were already scrambling. The court order in her briefcase, the one that froze the airport, had just been flagged as a sophisticated forgery. At the White House, the real Caroline Levit, who had never left Washington, was being briefed on an imposter using her name to breach national security. The standoff at Logan was only the beginning. Minutes earlier, before her flight, the atmosphere inside the terminal had been tense and electric. Caroline stood firm, clutching her court order as officials closed in. The TSA chief, a woman with salt and pepper hair, approached her. "Ms. Levit, I'm Director Hernandez," she said, extending a hand. "Apologies for the confusion. May I see the document?" Caroline handed it over. Silence fell across the terminal. Even the announcements had stopped. "This appears valid," Hernandez said, "but we must follow verification protocol." She led Caroline into a private room near the checkpoint. 2 men awaited them. One from Homeland Security, one from the FBI. "I'm Agent Bennett," said the DHS officer. "We'll need to verify your identity by alternate means." For 20 tense minutes, Caroline answered detailed questions about her position, access codes, and internal White House protocols. Finally, Bennett nodded. Identity confirmed. Relief came, briefly. "Ms. Levit," Director Hernandez began carefully, "while your credentials check out, you need to see this." She slid a tablet across the table. A breaking headline filled the screen. White House Communications Director Thomas Reynolds arrested for espionage. Staff credentials under review. Caroline's blood ran cold. Thomas was her mentor, and she'd spoken to him just hours earlier. "This can't be right," she whispered. "The arrest occurred 90 minutes ago," the FBI agent said. "All White House travel is now under heightened security." Her authority suddenly felt like a trap. Was she being used? "I had no knowledge of this," she said shakily. "We're not accusing you," Agent Bennett replied. "But the president has ordered you back to D.C. immediately. The press conference is canceled." Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Stay where you are." "Don't trust anyone." Thomas was framed. "You might be next," she looked up. The official's eyes were unreadable. Were they protecting her or containing her? "Ms. Levit," Hernandez said, "a private flight is ready. The Chief of Staff will meet you on arrival." Caroline slipped her phone away, her thoughts racing. The court order that once felt like power now felt like a weapon, perhaps one she didn't understand. Had Thomas hidden something in it? Was she carrying evidence without realizing it? "I'll cooperate," she said finally. As she was escorted through the terminal, she passed the TSA officer who had first stopped her. Their eyes met. "I'm sorry," the officer murmured. Caroline nodded. She understood now. The officer had been doing her job. Caroline had overridden the system, never imagining the danger behind it. Stepping into the waiting SUV, she felt the door close with a heavy thud, sealing her fate. The same authority that had frozen an entire airport was now pulling her into a storm she couldn't control. Whatever awaited her in Washington, nothing would ever be the same again.